Welcome to The Advocates. I'm Aaron Dean. President Biden is emphasizing Israel's right to defend itself, along with the readiness to offer Israel the support it needs. President Biden spoke with Israel's prime minister just days after one of the worst attacks on Israel in decades. In their phone conversation, the prime minister brought up the possibility of going into Gaza with ground troops, and the president did not warn against it. On October 7th, Hamas military launched a coordinated attack in Israel, killing hundreds of civilians and at least 11 Americans and taking more than 100 hostages. Israel's military is retaliating by pounding Gaza with airstrikes and sealing off the strip from food, fuel, and supplies.
The brutality of Hamas, these bloodthirstiness brings to mind the worst rampages of ISIS. This is terrorism. But sadly, for the Jewish people, it's not new. This attack has brought to the surface painful memories and the scars left by a millennia of anti-Semitism and genocide of the Jewish people. So in this moment, we must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. And we will make sure Israel has what it needs to take care of its citizens, defend itself, and respond to this attack.
We are now learning that misinformation was running rampant on the social media platform X in the early hours after the surprise attack on Israel. Multiple users shared a fake White House press release which falsely claimed that the U.S. was sending billions of dollars in new aid to Israel in response. Thousands of X users quickly spread the doctored White House press release. Musk himself added to the information chaos on Sunday by recommending X users keep up to date on the Israel-Gaza-Hamas conflict by following an account known for spreading misinformation. Musk later deleted the post. X, formerly known as Twitter, has long played a pivotal role in information sharing during conflicts. A new study shows the number of Latinos with advanced degrees more than doubled in the last 20 years. That's according to new analysis from the Pew Research Center using data from the Census Bureau and the 2021 American Community Survey. The study found that nearly 2.5 million Latinos held advanced degrees in 2021. That is compared to just 710,000 in 2000. The study also found that Latinos saw the fastest growth in advanced degrees of any major racial or ethnic group. That includes a 291% increase in Hispanic women holding an advanced degree and a 199% increase for Hispanic men. But despite this, only 8% of all advanced degrees in the country are held by Latinos, even though they make up about 19% of the population. As Equal Pride celebrates Latin Heritage Month, Los Luceros is being highlighted as a place that blends the history of New Mexico together into one cohesive experience. Los Luceros is also teaching us that historical landmarks can have an impact on the present and the future. Check it out. Rebecca and Joseph, hello. How are you guys?
Hi, doing good. Glad to be here.
Yep.
Yes, we're so happy to have you all. So can you share with us a little bit about Los Luceros and its significance to New Mexico?
Absolutely. Rebecca's been here the longest of all the staff members. So do you wanna start with that question, Rebecca?
Los Luceros Historic Site, I always like to say, perfectly encapsulates the history of northern New Mexico all in one place. So it's not as well known, but there is a pueblo that's associated with the property here called Fiogue Pueblo. And Fiogue is a Tewa word that means flicker place. And flickers are birds that we still have here on the property in the hundreds, if not the thousands. We have tons of flickers and woodpeckers. And then on top of that, the Spanish eventually settled right in this area. And the property that we have now that we called Los Luceros started as this land grant that once encompassed about 51,000 acres in northern New Mexico. And we're pretty sure that either the land that we have encompassed in the historic site was the seat of the grant, or that it was nearby at least, because there was a church on the property that dated back to the 1700s that was rebuilt in the 1800s that people can visit. And then we have history that connects to the Taos Rebellion that happened in the mid-1800s. Los Luceros was the seat of Rio Arriba County through the mid-1800s. And then the last Hispanic family to own the property owned it until the 1920s. And then we had American colonialism happen on site pretty significantly with Mary Wheelwright. And then we just kind of rolled into like statehood and everything here as well.
She wasn't exaggerating.
Yes,
it's literally all this different
Literally.
layers of Mexican history.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, like you guys said, Los Luceros has been standing for some time now. What are some of the exact things that people can see and do? You kind of gave us a little bit of a history. What are some of those activities?
Absolutely. So we have some events that happen every year. We just had our big Fall Harvest Festival 2 weekends ago. In that one, we had about 1,500 people turn out. And that kind of combines our history and also our history with agriculture at the site. So it's not just those buildings, but we also have historic orchards, about 1,200 apple trees that this year didn't fruit super well, but on a normal year they do. So definitely keep that in mind. And it kind of blends those worlds because we do have staff members that still work in that farm and ranch field. So that's a big event. That's a big draw. In Christmas, we have another one where the whole site is lit up with Christmas lights and something that's very common in New Mexico, which is these lanterns called farolitos. And then on the day-to-day, we're open Wednesday to Sunday to visit the historic district, and we'll give historic tours, have school groups, all sorts of stuff.
Wow, that is so cool. So kind of switching gears to the cultural community space. Now, what sort of things are happening there?
So we have what we call the community room. We're actually inside of it right now. That's the blue wall behind us. And most recently, we had a little startup festival in here called Cultures and Creators. And during Cultures and Creators, it was 16 local artists from the 3 counties closest to us and the one that we're in. So Rio Arriba County, Santa Fe County, and Taos County. And all 9 northern pueblos were represented, and the Jicarilla Apache as well contributed artists and art. And that was a really fun festival. We actually had our cabinet secretary involved. Deborah Garcia y Griego was here that night. And that was a lot of fun. And then during the Harvest Festival, people were able to interact with the artists and see art demonstrations. But in this room, we hold the seed exchange for the Acequia Association, so people can exchange seed in the local community.
And not only that, when Rebecca was talking about our heritage, we do have that history of a pueblo being near here, and also that long Hispanic heritage. And our namesake, Los Luceros, Lucero is still a very common surname in this area. So we get countless family members that will come here saying their great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents were born here or lived here. So it's kind of a connection with the community that dates back hundreds of years and it's never left.
Wow, that is so cool. Now, many historical sites, as we know, are facing some tough times or elimination altogether. You speak to what it means to preserve this historical site, that has such a deep history and deep roots.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're not afraid of is to shy away from any part of our history. So this is a place that we want to provide representation for all groups. So we mentioned that Pueblo and that Hispanic, and we also have that queer history coming from the early 20th century. That's not something that is represented in a lot of historic sites. So it's something that we have in our history, and we've had past and current staff members who identify in that queer umbrella. So it's something that we definitely do not want to get eliminated. We want to preserve that heritage of all these different underrepresented people. And even myself, I know I've given lectures about the history of slavery and indentured servitude in New Mexico, which also ties into this site. So it's a place that no matter what part of New Mexican history you're really looking at, it's represented here. And that's so important to have that representation.
Yeah, and I would say even topics of just talking about what happened with Native peoples here in New Mexico, we don't shy away from that. We have a flock of sheep on the property, and they're Navajo Churro sheep, and they're one of the sheep sheep breeds that was targeted by the US government to force Navajo people to Bosque Redondo, where they were killed in mass. And so that's something when we talk about the heritage of Navajo churro sheep and how we continue that heritage of having them here on the property, that's both a Hispanic thing and a Native thing. And we also take that opportunity to talk about basically oppression through like controlling agricultural and horticultural means. Like it was a big thing that the US government did that a lot of people don't know about.
Thanks for watching The Advocates. Download the app in the Apple or Google Play Store to stream us live, and you can even subscribe to our YouTube channel. For The Advocate channel, I'm Aaron Dean.